Welcome to Luma Sleep, where stories slow the world down and help you find rest. I'm Luma, your guide tonight. Thanks for being here. Tonight, we will not search the heavens. We will not ask the stars for answers they do not owe. We will simply rest beneath them, letting their quiet spill across the hours. The air is low, silvered by distance, carrying the scent of cool stone. Every sound has softened. Even the sea breathes as though it remembers sleep. If your mind still flickers, let it do so gently, like the afterglow of something already gone. There is no need to follow thought, no need to gather meaning. All that was urgent can rest for now. Somewhere, the city lowers its noise, folding itself into calm. A single lantern trembles on a distant balcony, and its light sways like a slow heartbeat. You may notice how your shoulders grow heavier, how your breath widens to meet the dark. Nothing calls you back, nothing waits ahead, only this stillness, this tender pause between the world and you. Stay here, breathe slower, and let the night begin to listen. There is a moment, just before sleep, when thought forgets its edges, when the sky no longer belongs to the stars, it belongs to stillness itself. It is in that stillness our stories begin, not the kind carved in marble, not the kind written in books, but the kind that live in the breath between questions. The old city, with its domes and shadows, once whispered of discovery. But even discovery must rest, even wonder must learn to close its eyes. Sometimes the universe is not asking to be understood, it is only asking to be seen without demand. And so we drift, not as seekers, but as listeners, tracing the pulse of something eternal, something tender, something that needs no name. If there is wisdom tonight, it waits not in answers, but in still watching. And perhaps within that watching, a single light quietly remembers why it began to burn. She stands on the upper terrace. The city below has folded itself into whispers. Only the wind moves now, slow, careful, as though it fears to wake the stones. Her robe touches her ankles, a thin tide of fabric brushing against silence. In her palm, a small bronze lens, cool and patient, holding the faint memory of stars. She lifts it once, not to measure the heavens, but to feel how light remembers distance. The air is deep tonight. It carries the scent of salt and dust and something older than either. Her breath slows, her shoulders loosen, even her eyes begin to forget their work. She is not looking for patterns. She is not seeking signs. She is only standing between the hum of the city and the vast listening above. The stars do not answer. They do not need to. Their silence is already enough. Inside, the air is softer still. The doorway sighs as she passes through, her lantern leaving a trembling trail of gold across the floor. The room is filled with the scent of brass and paper. Old maps rest beneath stones to keep them flat. Glass spheres sleep on wooden shelves, each one holding a tiny sky of its own. She does not light the full flame, only a whisper of glow to keep the shadows kind. Her fingers trace the rim of a chart, smudged by years of thought. Lines of constellations fade beneath her touch, as if even the stars grow tired of being known. A chair waits beside the open scrolls. She does not sit. She stands there, listening to the faint tick of a pendulum clock, slow as a heartbeat. Outside, the wind presses its palm against the window's edge. It feels like a memory, gentle, unspoken, and somehow hers. For a long time, she simply stands, as though the silence itself were an instrument she has learned to play. The table waits beneath the lantern's hush. Sheets of parchment, edges curled with sleep, lie open like wings too tired to rise. A bowl of ink glimmers faintly, dark as the space between stars. She leans forward, her shadow folding over the desk. Her hand hesitates, hovering above a line that once meant something certain. Outside, the night deepens, a quiet sea without horizon. She dips the quill, but does not write. Instead, she watches the drop of ink gather, perfect, patient, almost breathing. It falls, leaving a mark no larger than a sigh. Somewhere in that mark, she sees a constellation only she remembers, a map that never led to discovery, only to herself. Her eyes close briefly, not from weariness, but from knowing that every search must one day stop. And still, she feels the faint hum of something vast and kind moving quietly through her. Not the universe, but the peace of finally not needing to understand it. Morning once began here, where night now lingers. She remembers the dust glimmering in the first light, the way her teacher's hands moved gently over the lens, showing her how distance could be measured without ever touching the stars. The glass remains, its rim faintly cracked, its circle perfect enough to hold what memory will not name. She turns it slowly, watching light bend and slip, a quiet trick the world still plays for those who listen. Sometimes she thinks the stars are not distant at all, only quiet, only patient enough to wait for her breathing to match their rhythm. On the wall, a faded mark of chalk, a formula half erased, a thought half kept. She leaves it there, as if erasure were also a kind of devotion. Her pulse steadies, the sound of her breath fills the room like mist. The lens catches a faint reflection, her own eye, tired but still alight with something that will not extinguish. She does not name it, she only watches as it trembles once and settles back into calm. On the far corner of her desk, A folded page waits. Its edges are worn, touched too many times by indecision. She had begun the letter on a night like this, when the air was thin and the city breathed in shallow dreams. The ink has faded, but her words remain, not many, just enough to mean something and nothing both. To whoever still watches the same stars, that is how it begins, and then it stops, a sentence suspended in quiet disbelief. She runs her finger along the break in the line. The pause feels heavier than any word could. Perhaps she had meant to write about light, or distance, or the way silence can feel like touch. But no ink followed, only time and dust and the sound of the sea sliding against the shore like a slow breath. She folds the page again, not to hide it, but to keep it safe inside the stillness that finished it for her. The door to the observatory stands slightly open. A thread of night air moves through it, cool, deliberate, like the breath of a dream that refuses to end. She pauses before entering. The hinges whisper. The scent of stone and metal lingers, familiar as an old thought. Every instrument waits in patient silence, globes turned halfway, lenses tilted toward nothing in particular. Once she had opened this door with purpose, eyes bright, mind racing ahead of the dawn. Now she steps inside as one would step into a memory, careful not to disturb what it has learned to forget. Her hand rests on the wooden frame. It is smooth from years of touch. The air holds a faint hum of dust, a slow vibration of time. For a moment, she wonders if the stars ever feel this, the weight of being seen for too long. Then she lets the thought go. It drifts out through the open door, quiet as light leaving glass. She climbs the narrow steps, lantern in hand. Each stone holds a faint warmth from the day, a memory of sunlight too gentle to name. The night meets her halfway, pressing its cool palms against her face. Oh, the dome of the observatory opens like a slow breath. A thin band of stars waits behind the haze. She stands still, the flame swaying beside her. The light trembles, but the stars do not. For a long moment, she only watches, not the constellations, but the spaces between them. Those quiet distances feel more alive than all the burning. Her teacher once said, "Every gap in the sky is a question you are not ready to ask." She did not answer then. She still does not. Instead, she lets her eyes rest on that unlit canvas where absence itself becomes luminous. The city is far below now, a hush of breathing stone, and in this higher stillness, she feels something vast and tender wait with her, unhurried, invisible, true. The great lens rests on its bronze frame. A film of dust dims its curve, yet within the glass, a faint shimmer lingers. The ghost of stars once seen through it. She leans closer, breath clouding its surface. For a heartbeat, the blur becomes a reflection. Her face, half light, half shadow, and behind it, infinite quiet. She wipes the lens with the edge of her sleeve, not to see clearer, but to touch something that once mattered. The glass hums faintly, catching the lantern's glow. It feels alive, like memory pretending to sleep. How many nights had she waited here, charting movements that no longer meant anything but patience? Her fingertips trace a tiny chip at the rim, a scar from years ago. She remembers the sound it made when it broke, how silence swallowed it instantly, as if the sky itself had taken it in. She smiles, barely, not with joy, but with recognition. Even glass, like people, keeps what it has lost, and sometimes that is its only way of shining. The lantern burns low, its flame leans sideways, a tired petal of gold against the dark. Dust drifts through its glow, slow constellations of their own. She watches them move, each speck a wandering world, each flicker a forgotten sun. Her eyes follow the drift, as if reading a language only stillness understands. The air tastes of metal and old paper and something faintly sweet, like memory turning to smoke. She sets the lantern down. The floor sighs beneath it. Its light trembles over the edges of her hands. In that soft flicker, the room seems alive, breathing, listening, remembering. Once, she would have written what she saw. Now, she only lets it be, a quiet choreography between light and dust. The flame dips lower, folding into itself. For a moment, the darkness deepens and finds its shape again. She exhales slowly, and the last speck of light rests on her wrist, as though the night itself had come to thank her. Folded on the desk lies the map, edges curled, ink fading into silence. Once, she traced these lines to find her way through the night. Now, the constellations have slipped away, leaving behind only the memory of their names. Her fingers hover over a faint smudge of ink. It could be a star, or just the ghost of where one used to be. The paper crackles beneath her touch, like thin ice remembering spring. She leans back, listening to the quiet that fills the room when the world outside forgets her. The walls breathe their age. The air folds itself around her stillness. Somewhere, a clock stutters. Somewhere, a seabird calls. But here, in this circle of lantern light, only the map remains, unreadable, unchanging. She smiles faintly. Perhaps it no longer matters where the stars are. Perhaps, she thinks, the sky has simply come closer. The night has settled. Walls blur into softer shapes. The air hums faintly, like a thought that refuses to leave. She stands beside the desk, eyes half closed. Her breath rises, then folds into quiet again. There is no near, no far, only this still circle between heartbeat and silence. The telescope waits, its frame catching a whisper of light. Even metal seems to listen. She touches the wood once, a small anchor, a brief reminder that she is still here. Then she lets go. The edges of things begin to fade. The ceiling becomes sky. The floor becomes memory. It feels like standing inside a thought that has forgotten where it began. Outside, the city barely stirs, a distant hum, a hidden wave, nothing urgent. And in this dim space, she understands distance is only a kind of remembering. Silence grows slowly. It does not arrive. It unfolds. Between one breath and the next, the world forgets to move. She sits beside the window, though the glass shows nothing now, only darkness and her reflection fading into it. The stars are somewhere, beyond sight, beyond thought, but she no longer searches. Her hands rest, fingers curved slightly, as if still holding a night that once answered her. The air feels heavier, but kind. It carries no message, no sound, only the weight of stillness. A clock ticks once, then forgets to tick again. Its pause feels deliberate, like respect. The lantern is almost gone. Its light trembles, gathers itself, and waits. She closes her eyes. In the dark behind them, stars return, not as sky, but as warmth. Somewhere deep within her, the silence hums, steady and endless, like the quiet heartbeat of the universe itself. The hour has thinned. Night folds its edges, careful not to wake what has already fallen quiet. Her notes lie open, but the ink no longer matters. It glows faintly, as if remembering use. She leans back, the chair sighing beneath her weight. Every motion is slower now, measured by calm, not by time. The window hums softly, a hush against the cool glass. Outside, the city has turned to breath and shimmer. No voices, no echoes, only the small sound of her own stillness. Her eyes wander, not seeking, only noticing how everything begins to fade at the same pace. The telescope, the books, even the lantern's weak light, each one letting go a little at a time. She exhales, and the air follows, as if learning how to rest again. Nothing waits for her now, and somehow that feels like grace. The night leans closer. Its quiet wraps around her shoulders like worn silk. Each breath is slower than the last, a tide that has forgotten to return. Her thoughts no longer form in words. They move like faint ripples through a still pond. The walls breathe with her. The lantern flickers once, then steadies, its flame small but patient. She places her hand over her chest, feeling the steady rhythm beneath it. There is no counting here, no measure of time, only the hush between one heartbeat and another. Outside, Something stirs, a soft wind, a shifting cloud, but it does not disturb. The air tastes of rest, old paper, cool brass, and sleep. Her head tilts slightly, as though listening to a sound too gentle to name. It might be the stars. It might just be peace. The lantern trembles. Its flame has grown thin, a thread of gold woven through the dark. She watches it sway, too tired to move, too peaceful to care. Each flicker touches the glass once, then disappears, like breath leaving no trace. Her shadow softens against the floor. Her eyes, half open, glisten in the hush. Nothing sharp remains. The edges of the world have melted. Even the telescope, faithful and still, looks almost like memory, a shape she once trusted to find meaning in the night. The air has weight now, but not burden. It feels like an embrace that expects nothing back. She blinks slowly. The light lowers again, a bow, a farewell. And in that dim, unhurried moment, she knows the sky no longer waits above her. It rests quietly within. The room forgets itself. Walls fade into shadowed breath. The table, the maps, the lens, each dissolves softly into the same quiet hue. She sits unmoving, the last echo of motion gone from her hands. Her eyelids lower, slow as falling ash, not from weariness, but from peace. The flame surrenders without sound. A small curl of smoke rises, then settles, a memory folding itself back into air. Somewhere outside, a faint wind hums. It brushes the stone, touches the window once, and stays. The stars return not as distant fire, but as warmth, filling the hollow behind her heart. In that quiet, everything holds still. Nothing fades anymore. Nothing waits to be found. Only stillness, honest and whole, breathing beside her. Somewhere above, the city sighs. Its towers glimmer faintly, then fade, as if bowing to the deeper night. Inside the small room, time has stopped counting. The air drifts gently, slow as sleep itself. Her chair creaks once, a sound almost too soft to be real. Then even that is gone. The map lies open. Stars, smudged and faint, seem to breathe again. Lines shimmer briefly, not ink, but memory remembering itself. Her fingers rest upon the paper's edge. They no longer move, but they still seem to hold the shape of wonder. Outside, a cloud passes. The faint light returns, touching her cheek for a single heartbeat, as if the sky had come closer to see her dream. Nothing stirs after that, only warmth, only the echo of her breath folding into silence. And somewhere, beyond the quiet, the stars keep her name. The horizon never returns. Dawn waits somewhere far away, but does not enter. The sky holds its breath, and the city sleeps beneath it, a quiet body dreaming of light. Inside, the telescope stands empty. Its lens reflects nothing now, only stillness curved into glass. She drifts between thoughts, no longer reaching, no longer naming. Her pulse slows to the rhythm of silence. Each moment folds inward, soft as silk in water. The air carries her scent, old paper, brass, and something faint, like a wish unspoken. No flame, no sound, no movement remains. Only this, a gentle hum where she once breathed. And as the stars lean lower, their light gathers quietly in the hollow of her chair, resting there, not as memory, but as presence. The night does not end, it simply learns how to stay.